we go. Finally recording. Holy moly, I'm way
I'm
too
ready.
loud. Welcome to the Challengers Korea podcast. I'm Takeoff, the self-proclaimed expert on everything vague in League of Legends in Korea. Join me is the English teacher himself, Sloth Hipster,
Hey, how
aka
you doing?
Slothy, my co-caster in CK. And today
Yeah, man.
we're going to be joined by my good friend, the former head coach of BBQ Olivers and now reporter for Invin, is Quest. How you doing, Quest? Dan
Hello.
the man.
I'm chilling,
Dan
Ye-
man.
the man.
Excited for the season to start. It's been a long. I'm mostly in LCK, but it's been a long off season, I would say. So I'm ready to get back into gear.
Yeah, I'm also ready to get back into gear. I'm ready to get back to casting. It's gonna be good stuff. But yeah, real quick. Speaking of getting back into things, we did see Kuzan get back into LCK with the recent promotion tournament that happened. Dynamics and Sotowol represented the Challengers Korea. Meanwhile, it was Griffin and Sandbox representing the LCK. And
Mhm.
we did see Dynamics speedrun their way into the LCK. Meanwhile, Sandbox had a bit of a struggle with them, but managed to retain their spot, sending Griffin down to Challengers Korea, and Sotable failed to promote, so they got sent back down as well. It's interesting stuff. It's really interesting stuff. Did you guys
I,
expect that result, or did you expect something different?
um, I, I personally imagine Griffin even staying on
Hmm.
LCK just because of like how much better they seemed, or so-called better,
Mhm.
towards the end of the season, last split. Um, it looked like, and with the addition of Wooded being added onto the team, it on paper it seemed like an upgrade from their previous support. What's his name? I can't. I forgot.
I rove.
Irov, yeah.
Yeah, Irov.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but Griffin being Griffin, Griffin had H Dragon as head coach, and I believe that he's. I have a lot of things to say about him, and they're they're
Mm.
they're not nice, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Um, and Sandbox is an interesting team where
Mhm.
Sandbox, um, the top laner, Summit. I think he's mechanically one of the best top laners in LCK, but something's just not clicking with the team. But eventually they managed to sneak back, and yeah. And to be honest, and the one thing I do want to talk about is Sorabo Gaming. Like,
Mhm.
how hilarious is that story? Like, you pick up a team that lost
Yeah.
in the CK promotions tournament,
Well,
right?
to
They
be
just got
fair, the
knocked.
reason I think
Mm.
I've told you this before. The reason why they lost is because
Yeah.
they put their owner in at support
Yeah.
instead of Nova, and
Uh,
then
well,
and then just became bot shy at that point.
right. And but like if you think of the story as in its entirety,
Hmm.
it's fucking hilarious.
It is hilarious,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
And like if
Right.
you go back to like the grand span of things, like if you go back to even last spring split, really promising roster that fell apart. Then you had a really
oh,
disappointing summer split, hardly able to stay in CK, and then
mm,
buying up a team that had a really good run in the
yeah,
regular season, and
yeah,
then just
Mhm.
became it what looked like just a completely different team when it
it
came.
fell apart.
Yeah, they fell apart.
Like that's what that management does. It's when players don't work, they don't want to nurture the players. They just get rid of them and they just buy, like they just throw money at it, and that's not the way to go.
Yeah, I thought.
And like their only goal is to get back into the LCK and somehow survive in it,
Mhm.
and they want to somehow make it into the long term partnership program, also known as franchising in the LCK.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just not the way to go about it. You can't just literally throw
Yeah.
money at a bunch of
Mhm.
streamers who have
Yeah,
nothing to
Yeah.
do in their better time. Then
Yeah.
treat this as content. Like, it's not.
Yeah. But we're kind of getting away from the question
Yeah,
at hand
the
here.
question.
And the
Oh,
question at
right,
hand
right,
is like,
sorry.
did we expect it? Yeah, like we can go back to that later. Like that's some really good
Yeah,
points when we were
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the thing. But
Yeah, because
if
we're
you
going
don't
to
have
talk
anything,
about rosters later,
yeah,
and that'll be a good thing to talk about with
yeah,
Soto
that'd
Ball.
be a good time. But
Soraba, if you're just judging them based on their regular season performance and whatnot, yeah, sure, they look dominant. But
Yeah.
did I expect it? I was kind of hoping for it because
Yeah.
you know.
yeah,
But
Um.
I think it was a.
Mhm.
To be honest, I didn't expect Dynamics to make it through in
Really?
such a
Mhm.
yeah in such a well. What I mean by is like
Mhm.
I didn't expect them to speed run it.
Mhm.
And
I.
I personally thought that all four teams were playing at a similar level.
Mhm.
So any four of the teams could have made it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot
But
of sense.
again, so I guess it all came down to who performed that day in that tournament.
Mhm.
Um, but that's just my
Mhm.
take on it. And
Yeah.
what
That's.
about you guys? What did you?
I'll let you go
So
first, Slothy. Yeah.
all right, sounds good. So the thing is, like, I expected Dynamics to make it through. I didn't expect Griffin to lose to Sorable in the first round and be put straight into the losers bracket. That was the part that puzzled me there. I didn't think that Sorable was going to beat them. But then again, we're also looking at best of threes.
Mhm.
And anything can happen in best of threes compared to playing a best of five. You get you get two chances at most for some of these things, and it looks like you have the potential in it to have one red side draft and one blue side draft. And if you can execute on both of them and you plan them out well, like Dynamics did, then you're pretty much in the clear for that first part of the seed, right?
Mhm.
All you need to do is win 4 games without dropping one, and then you're in LCK. Now, on the flip side, if you want to get back into that after that, then you need to win 5 games. If you drop down to the losers bracket, you need to lose five games, and you're playing a best of three for the final one for the qualifying round. And that one was, I guess, a little less shocking. Um, I was expecting whatever LCK team to win in the best of five, just because a lot of these players don't have a lot of experience in that longer set. And I was saying, all is
Oh, your mic's cutting out.
Oh yeah, his mic's getting out bad.
Yeah.
like
Sounds like a robot. Hold on, he'll catch up with
yeah.
us soon. Oh, there we go. There you go.
Yeah.
Now you're back with us.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think it's because I gotta pause stream while we're doing this. But yeah, um, yeah. So yeah, I guess I digress. You know, you get two really good drafts, win your first series. Two really prepared drafts, you win your second series, and then you're in LCK. So Team Dynamics, they did their research, they played well. Um,
Not again.
I
The robot.
don't know
uh
what it is.
Not like this.
oh, he's back. He's back. He's back. Is he back?
Hello,
Yeah, yeah, you're back.
hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. I think it might be like the region that we're doing it from.
Oh, maybe. Let
Here,
me check.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, it should be okay.
oh,
I mean, but my internet's shit.
oh yeah, no, hold on here. Let me
Yeah.
let me call back, and one of you
Mhm.
start the call instead.
Okay.
1 second. Uh, give me a second. Let me just switch to that for now. Oh, hello?
All right. Hopefully this does this
There we go.
correctly.
Let me see.
All right.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, on South Korean server.
Yep.
All right.
Really strange though when you're streaming.
Yeah. All right.
Be better.
Better now. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Hopefully. Yeah.
so who did you expect them? Who did you expect to win?
Who do I expect to win?
Yeah.
I expected Dynamics to make it through. I didn't expect Sandbox to make it back in. I expected kind of Griffin to come back through. through the bottom bracket. But like I said, dude, when you're in the losers bracket, that's another 2 well prepared drafts, and you're just knocked down.
Hmm. I
So a little
personally,
unfortunate there. Yeah.
Personally, I thought that both CK teams were going to promote. I
Mhm,
thought that Dynamics were going to be the best
mhm,
team in the tournament because they got the better preparation by going through the CK
mhm,
playoffs, in my opinion. I think
mhm,
Sotomayor had a bit too much off time, and we see that a lot with the CK first seed teams. Is that like CJ is a good example. Twice they were the first seed,
mhm,
and they didn't
mhm,
manage their time in between the regular season. Well, for them they had playoffs as well, so actually it doesn't really count.
mhm,
But nonetheless, a better
mhm,
example would be Dynamics or ES Sharks previously.
mhm,
They had too
mhm,
much time in between the end of the regular season and the start of the promotion tournament, and they didn't use that time properly.
mhm,
Whenever you're going through the playoffs, your mindset isn't let's spend all this time
mhm,
getting ready for the promotion tournament. It's we got to go one step at a time. First, we got to worry about beating this opponent. Then we worry
mhm,
about beating this opponent. Then we can worry about beating LCK teams that are going to be in the promotion tournament. And you're not overthinking things or you're not misusing your time. You have a smaller window to misuse your time basically. And so I thought
mhm,
Dynamics were going to be the best team, but I thought that Sotoball would have been the second best team just because I didn't watch LCK that much live, but I did go back and watch the Griffin games
mhm,
and the Sandbox games, and I wasn't really impressed by either of their teams. And with in the case of Griffin, you can't just throw
mhm.
in Wadid and all your roster problems are gone. And for Sandbox, I didn't think that you could just change out the coaching staff and all your problems are gone. The problems go deeper than that. For Sandbox, it ended up being the solution, and I was wrong about that. But for Griffin, it certainly was the case of you can't just throw in with Deed and all your problems are gone. So they got relegated, but Sandbox were able to come through, and then also Soda Bowl misused their time, and it ended up making them underprepared for Sandbox and for Dynamics. So it was unfortunate. But
Mhm.
yeah, I expected Dynamics to promote, but I didn't think Sandbox would keep their spot basically. Um,
Yeah.
there was another
Yeah.
promotion tournament that happened also. It was a less
Yes.
interesting one, the CK promotion tournament. Well, actually, it was interesting
Well,
because it featured my favorite
yeah.
team in League of Legends history besides Kongdu Runaway. Which is
Where
Is
are
it
basically
you
just
from?
renamed?
Kongdu
Where are you
2.0,
from?
baby. Where
Where are
are
you
you from?
from?
Jeez, no.
No, no.
No, it was the other team that we can't remember the name of.
Oh, what's the
What
other
was the
team?
name of the people that got destroyed by Jin Air? Which actually we'll talk about that. Um,
Elab
Elab, yeah, Elab
XXP.
something.
Mhm,
They got absolutely destroyed, and that's to be expected, really,
mhm.
just because Jin Air wasn't like Azura.
Yeah.
They almost made playoffs at one point,
Mhm.
and they only hardly by one game, literally by one game, they were one game away from being able to not play in a promotion tournament. And they got their
Yeah.
pick between Where Are You From and Elab, and they knew that Elab were the worst team. So it was
Yeah.
just easy work for them. They were basically all players that could potentially
Mhm.
be lower tier LCK players playing against solo queue players, and it was just free win. Did
Yeah.
either of you watch that match?
I
I got.
watched a little bit.
Hmm.
I think I watched the Runaway
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
Um, I I know that Runaway won 3-1,
Mhm.
and basically, I don't know. I think, to be honest, the CK promotions was
Mhm.
too uneventful,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Just
Mhm.
because there was no storyline,
Mhm.
no,
Well,
you
Where Are
know,
You From had a little bit of a storyline. They had a lot of people
Yeah.
cheering for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
You had Frozen trying to get back into the Korean League of Legends scene. Same with Septed and
Mhm.
Stitch and
Okay.
Crash. You had a lot of people that were like motivated to prove themselves still.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You did. But yeah, as we were saying before, dude, Janair sent Elab back to the Elab. You know what I'm saying?
The
And
Elab.
then, yeah, dude, they sent him back to the Elab again.
That's it.
And so the thing is, with Janair right there, you have people in these situations that have played for a long time, like we were saying, and they just instantly pushed through and just dismantled that roster, and I guess kind of like show them like, all right, you're trying to get in, but you're not even close to where you need to be. Now, on the other hand, Where Are You From? They did take a game off Runaway, and we did cast that series together, at least most of it, I believe.
We did.
Yeah, we cast most of that series together, and it was a lot closer than we were making it out to be at some points. There was that, I believe game 3 was actually fairly close, and it kind of like
Oh yeah.
tilted in the way of Runaway, and they just kind of because I remember we specifically made that pun that they ran away with the game.
Mhm.
So they just again
I like.
they just
Wait, real quick. Can we talk about how Quest changed his picture in the
yeah
middle of this?
yeah Pookie style.
Yeah,
Jeez.
bro.
Pushka Guram.
God. But anyways, you were
Charlie.
saying. I'm sorry.
Charlie
You were saying,
Puka.
Slothy.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we were talking about that. As we were saying, like, Where Are You From? It was a team of vets that played in leagues outside of Korea. They were coming back, trying to make it back into, I guess, the Korean scene one more time, and they got put down by Runaway, which I think this is a more interesting story right here. What Runaway was before that, they were Ashura, and they pretty much ditched. They pretty much got rid of almost all of their players before
Yeah, they the only remaining
I
player
mean,
was Five Kid,
Five
and
Kid.
they just dumped everybody
oh
else.
kid.
Yeah,
Oh Kid, my bad. Oh
He's
Kid. Oh Kid.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh Kid.
Okay,
I
yeah,
mean, Asura Gaming.
yeah.
The reason why they were took
Mhm.
over by Runaway in the first place is
Mhm.
because they had
Mhm.
a lot of problems just paying their players.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I've received,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
there were like I've looked into this issue when
Yeah.
the whole Kanavi slash CV Max all that shit blew up.
Yeah.
But you know, like basically they didn't have the organization didn't have money, and Runaway came in, and now the coach on there,
Mhm.
he used to be part of ES Sharks when Soul Strikes was on
Talking
CK
about
with ES Sharks.
Wong?
Tilly.
Oh,
Tilly, is
Telly.
it?
Tilly.
Telly.
Yeah, Tilly.
I think that's his name.
Yep,
Yeah.
he was the coach of Spear Gaming for a while,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, his
what?
name is. I mean, his Korean name. We call him Woong.
Wait, no, we're not.
The
What's
Woong.
his, what's his current name?
Oh no! Oh, you're talking about
Woong.
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 Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's the no. So we're talking about the other guy.
Oh, it's the other
Yeah.
coach. Okay.
That's what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
they,
No,
they
no.
were
Woong coached the Sharks.
Yeah, yeah.
they both were on Spear Gaming together as a coach.
Yeah.
So.
They basically just picked up the Spear Gaming
Mhm.
coaching staff. But yeah, Woong was
Yeah.
on ES Sharks when Soul Strikes was there. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. So and when I went to interview Runner,
Mhm.
he was there coaching, but I couldn't say hi because they were busy in scrims.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm kind of getting lost in. My train of thought is getting lost here, but I don't know. I think Runaway did prepare a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and the well, from what I heard, the team was like, okay, we'll just spend 2 weeks before the promotion tournament to
Mhm.
get prepared. Let's get ready and let's just speed run this. And apparently that didn't turn out to be the case when they started scrimming people, just because of how terrible they were.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think they prepared well.
Mhm.
I got nothing else to say about that.
Uh,
Um,
Go
there's
ahead.
one thing I do want to say. So the top laner for Elab, formerly known as Son of Conus, he did get picked up by Runaway as a sub top laner.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, yeah. So he recently got picked up by that, and he renamed his name to Last. So,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, it's
so.
All right.
I'm excited for him because I was looking. He apparently peaked at like 1300 LP Challenger. Really
Mhm.
good, really good, really good player apparently. So I'm excited to see him. I do hope that he starts over Kronji, just because he last seems like a more entertaining player. Kronji
Mhm.
is more of like your tank player, which
Mhm.
although it's efficient, not really exciting to watch.
Yeah,
It's kind of like playing power forward. It's like it's
yeah,
not really exciting most of the time, but
yeah.
it's an important position. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, yeah,
Mhm.
not very eventful promotions for the Jin Air match. Second match had
Um,
a good storyline, not very
yeah,
good execution of the storyline.
yeah. And I think like one of the bigger things that we're kind of or lacking on this one too is like there is no storyline on the face, but if you look from the qualifier teams, the ones that did not really have names before this tournament, four of the 6 of them got picked up by academy teams or by either CK teams or LCK trainee or academy teams. So you have a lot of these people going onto it. So Brian Braid Academy picked up Oscar from Where Are You From, as well as Prep and Shine from Elab. So
Okay.
so they do have some sort of things going on with this. They do have is some value from this tournament right here. It's just maybe intrinsic value that we don't see just from the results of the game.
Yeah, it's a happy ending for the players, but
Mhm.
it's not the happy ending that we wanted to see. We wanted to see
Yeah.
the dream, the Cinderella run up into CK, and they didn't get
Yeah.
that, but they still accomplished their goal, which was to get their names out there and to be on a roster, and they're on rosters now, and that's all that matters.
I mean, you know what? Remember this storyline though from the CK promotions? Um,
Oh, XYZ.
fucking what's his face? No, well XYZ was fucking. It's another story on its own. But
XYZ.
well, for those that don't know, XYZ was pretty much formed so that we can.
Yeah.
It was compiled like it was basically just old BBQ,
Yeah.
but it just didn't go through. And I mean, oh well, that's for another day. But
Yeah. That's a whole different story.
remember like in spring
Mhm.
when Rebels team was ahead 2-0
Oh, and got reverse swept by
Yeah.
ESC.
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
ESC.
Jack God, the one, the only Jack God. What are you gonna really? What can you do if Jackpot's on the enemy
Remember
team?
that Malphite ult that just completely whipped with
Oh yeah. I was having a great time watching that, and like later that night, I was thinking to myself, like, man, his teammates must have been fucking pissed. His teammates must have been pissed that he messed up that ultimate. I mean, like, sure, the teleport prevented like a potential lead to
yeah.
happen bot lane. They would have been able to dive that if he had canceled the teleport. But just whiffing that, it was big sad. But yeah, great times. Unfortunate for Rebel. He's on T1 trainee now. So actually, pretty much everyone that we like from promotion tournaments is on a roster. So I guess promotion tournaments have their purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So I think right now, speaking of like just Rebel being on T1 rosters or whatever, I think it's a good time to talk about some of the roster or all the rosters on CK and
yeah,
maybe even some of the changes. So if we start with Breon Blade, we
yeah,
have Frozen as coach, Wiser into top lane. Jungle, we have Krako and Mighty Bear. Mid, we have Fire Rain / Roy. Bot laner is Henna, and support is Minute.
yeah. It's a really good roster still. I still think that they have one of the best, if not the best, rosters in CK. And they even improved their coaching staff. Oh, what the hell? Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
That was weird. What happened to my monitor just now? A bunch of my lights just. Oh, you know what? I kicked the. That's what happened. Hold on. Anyways, I have a problem of moving my feet a lot,
Okay.
and I kicked off my surge protector, so I turned off my other
Yeah.
monitor. But anyway, they have Frozen as their coach now. I think that's a really good pickup. They kept their core players. Hey, now I see myself again. Echo.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
You're good.
Turn
You're
on
good.
the whatever. It'll do in a moment.
I think that this roster, you got to tell me a little bit more about this roster.
Yeah.
How they performed in spring.
They in the regular season they were third place, and they finished basically third place in the playoffs as well. I didn't expect that from them though. I thought they were gonna win playoffs. I had really high expectations for them. They were one match away from winning the first slot. If they had beaten Sotobol, they would have gotten that first seed into the promotion tournament. So I thought that they were the best team that wasn't Sotobol. Just also because I thought they were the most well coached and they had the second best player in the league. Well, third best, but nonetheless. Uh, I also thought really highly of of a lot of other people on their roster besides Weiser. I liked Doyle. I liked Hollow. And weirdly, neither of them are on the roster anymore.
Yeah, no, both of them are done as of June. They're in free agency. Haven't
Go.
been picked up
Turn
by
on
any
the
teams
desk.
yet, but who knows? Anything
I
could
mean,
happen.
they're probably gonna get picked up
Yeah.
towards when the FA season starts. So that's when all the like rosters and like when all the free agents pop out of their holes and be like, yeah, I'm free, pick me up, motherfuckers.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
So yeah.
But
So,
it's interesting to see Frozen go to Beyond Blade
mhm.
just because I want to see how he does as a coach. I mean, he already kind of did it. Like he already kind of showed it, but not really when he coached that the team for the promotion tournament. But
Mhm.
to be on a team where like Beyond Blade,
Mhm.
like Beyond Blade,
Mhm.
I recently saw an article and they had the Olympic, like the category like shooting, like with the
Yeah, yeah,
pistol.
yeah,
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 I don't know what you call it.
speed shooting, I think.
Any
yeah.
yeah, speed shooting. Yeah, with the
Skeet.
pistols. Um,
Skeet.
the guy like
Mhm.
there's a guy like a Korean guy
Mhm.
who won like multiple gold medals in that
Mhm.
category, right?
Yeah.
And Beyond Blade actually brought him on to kind of like coach them in terms of like the mental aspects of things.
Yeah.
So
The
the
reason
fact that
why they have that connection, because you should know this. Breon, they're a
Mhm.
sport. They're
they're like
yeah, sports
they're
agency.
sports
Yeah.
they're a sports agency.
But yeah, continue.
So like um just the fact that traditional sports is kind of like merging into esports and how some of the important bits of traditional sports can integrate into like an esports team,
Mhm.
it's pretty interesting. So things like that. It's small, but I'm pretty sure it'll definitely help them improve in one way than more than one way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I, I
Mhm.
definitely, I definitely think that was a really interesting. I think that's really good for them to do. Really smart is to
Mhm.
do that. But yeah, so I guess with that being said, the biggest thing for them is like their coaching staff, probably. That's
Yeah.
the big pro for their change. But the
Yeah.
con would
Yeah.
be losing that dropping the
Mhm.
players that we liked, like
Yeah.
Doyle
Mhm.
and Hollow.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But they got a new coaching staff and they kept Weiser. So I
Yeah.
guess you can say that.
Right. Okay.
Uh,
Um,
and
I mean,
yeah,
Mighty Bear's been in and out of CK, and I don't know, like I think EU from what I
mhm.
remember last time.
yeah, he did play. I believe um, he played for Vitality.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think that's
Mhm. And
um,
Giants. Yeah, but yeah.
yeah. So I think his I don't know. Mighty Bear's an interesting guy. I feel
Mhm.
because Mighty Bear
Mhm.
he hasn't been like he's been around for a long time, but he hasn't really shown
Mhm.
too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um.
hopefully he can perform.
Um. I think another thing to keep in mind is like the most recent performances we have seen from Mighty Bear, and this is part of the reason why it's not going to look as nice as before, was when the Rocks Tigers completely changed
Yeah.
in
To
LCK
Hana.
2017. That's like the last like times we really saw him play. When Rocks Tigers was switching over to Hanwha, he played a couple games in spring, but again, they're both losses. Um, like it just wasn't the best look for the teams during that time, and I don't really think that we can judge him fully based on those areas because of how long ago it was. So who knows? Maybe he has put in some more of the effort, and maybe he is better these days. We'll just have to see who they choose to start. Are they going to keep on starting Kroko, or are they gonna start Mighty Bear for some of the games? So
Yeah.
Well,
we'll have
we'll
to see.
see. But
Mhm.
on the note of depth, I want to talk about Elman
Yeah.
Mystic, which a big thing for them, for me, I felt like, was the lack of
Mhm.
depth that their roster had. But they did finally
Mhm.
pick up some depth They picked up 2 new players and dropped one.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, sorry, they didn't drop one. They dropped their coach, is what I meant to say. Cookie, no longer the coach for Element Mystic. Now it's Gizmo. And they picked up Envy and Karis. Karis, the former support from Winners. I don't know who Envy is. I thought it was Gap, which is a player that I really like, and I was really excited for a moment, but then I found out it isn't Gap, and I was really sad. But I don't really think that much of their roster changes. I think they're pretty much just going to be the same old team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
So
Go ahead.
I think that this team isn't one of those teams where the coach actually does any strategic coaching, unless like Gizmo, for example. I don't think that he actually knows a lot about the game, just based on what I heard from his time on BBQ.
Yeah, it definitely felt like,
Um,
or seemed like, Kage had more of the, because I think he was communicating during most of the drafts anyway, and he was like the drafting coach for that team.
yeah. So it's I I don't know who. Yeah. So that's I think it just all depends on like how well you can draft, execute, and formulate different strategies. And I feel like that shouldn't have to come from the players.
Mm-hmm.
It should come from the strategic coach himself.
Yeah,
But I don't
they
know. I think they lack it, to be honest with
they
you. And
have a
Element Mystic.
strategic coach. They have.
Well,
Or no, Gizmo is their. I'm mistaken. Gizmo is their strategic coach. I
No,
now
thought.
he is. Now he is.
what I
Before it was
what I
Cook.
mean is
Yeah.
like people that can actually, like people that actually know the game. And
Hmm.
I personally think Gizmo isn't one of those people.
No.
If that
Um.
makes sense.
Yeah, I think with Cookie leaving, that leaves them in a huge hole. Furthermore, a lot of their flaws came from the bot lane not being able to perform the way that they needed to. They would have a nice draft for them to just I guess it was very one dimensional in the bot lane, but if the bot lane performed it, they won that game. If the bot lane did the one job that they needed to do, they'd win that game. And seeing as how we have a new ADC and a new support coming in, um, that could be the variable that they need to, I guess, climb up on the standings again. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I think if you're gonna keep your veterans in, you're gonna keep Shark and Execute playing, and you're gonna have the same mistakes happen over and over and over again until you fix what needed to be done. I guess in terms of game knowledge in that area, and if we go back and we look at some of the drafts, like Cookie did some pretty spectacular drafts and pulling off some flexes, but if the players don't know what to do with those picks, if the players weren't prepared for those picks, then again, it's
I
kind of hard for
mean,
you guys to succeed.
you won't. I don't
Yeah.
think you'll be playing anything that you haven't prepared on stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah. But it looked rather unprepared from what we saw.
Like for example,
Mhm.
like last spring. Like okay.
Well, I'm saying based on like what it looked like
Yeah. What it
from the
looked
games that
like.
we saw.
Yeah.
Not that they were unprepared for it or they just tried something
It
out.
just
They
it just
had
seemed
something
that way.
prepared, but it looks like it was lost in translation somewhere. They did
Yeah.
not get the memos of what they needed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, uh, same team, if not slightly worse, because now they are having a bit of a swap in the coaching, and that might cause some problems. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about Elma Mystic just because it's a pretty uneventful
Yeah, let's move
off
on.
season for them.
Yeah.
Something that is eventful is Griffin. Very
Mhm.
eventful off season for them. Basically aren't even the same team anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
they from long ago, long time ago, when they were the kings of, well, I guess not really the kings, the princes of Korea. It was
They were
Sword.
kings of CK.
Oh yeah, Kings of CK for sure. You had Sword, you had Tarzan, you had Chovy. It was Nehun whenever it was CK. You had Viper and Lehend, and it was a fantastic.
No, rather.
Rather,
No,
rather, rather
oh, I'm
instead of
talking
me.
about. Oh yeah, rather, but or
Yeah.
no. I'm talking about long ago, not recently. Long ago.
Yeah, that was rather.
Yeah, rather.
Was there?
Not Nahun.
Yeah,
No, I
Nahyun's
said Lehens.
No, you said for mid, you said Nahun.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
whenever it was CK. Oh no, it was rather. You're right. I don't know why I said Nahun. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah. But anyway, uh, used to be a really good team. Slowly fell apart, and they had like some pieces of it left still. Like they had Viper Tarzan, but I don't know. It's pretty much doomed now. The roster has come down to Chaos top, Chaos with the coach, Hoya's top lane, Citrus is jungle. You have Nehun Bay in the mid lane, Wayne ADC, and Yus in support. Which is like who even?
Who are these kids?
Yeah, who are these people? It's like the
Like,
episode
who
of
are you?
the episode of SpongeBob where like Patrick comes back and like everyone's hiding under his house. He's like, "Who are you people?" It's basically Nehun looking at his roster around him.
See, I don't know why Nahun decided to stick with Griffin
I don't know that either. That was really interesting.
because he did perform well on DRX,
Mm-hmm.
and he just fucked himself over by going with Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally think that he should have just gone to an ARU, um, just because like then like the market value as a player it doesn't drop. Um, Chaos. I don't know if you know this, but Chaos was just supposed to be someone that just gathers data for CV Max. Um, now when CV Max left, he was there as a placeholder, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't the ones that was kind of like setting up the strategies for the team per se.
Yeah.
Chaos. I don't know what he did when H Dragon was on the team, but I'm pretty sure that both people weren't. Chaos must have felt very frustrated having H Dragon because H Dragon is very different from CV Max, where CV Max just does everything strategically, right? And he wants the players to move how he views the game. But H Dragon is just like, yeah, you kids are, you're the ones with more knowledge, so you figure out what you want to draft, and I'll just,
I'll do it.
do whatever. Yeah.
Slothy, what do you think
What?
about what about Griffin's off season?
So I think that I think they really shot themselves in the foot. I think by not promoting or not even showing up at the promotion tournament, they only won that one game against Sorable, and then they lost 2 out of the sandbox. And I think at that point, well, the ship was already sinking. The promotion tournament was them trying to put duct tape over holes in the ship, and they weren't able to do that. And they just said, you know what, let's just go down. So a lot of players are moving on, trying to go to different teams, getting out of there, right? Because I don't think necessarily it was a lot of the players' fault. I think this stems from a larger problem that happened long ago, and they were just still experiencing the after effects of that problem, of those problems from 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Uh, it's this is an interesting situation. It's something I've talked about is that a problem with a lot of teams that come up from CK is that they just have no idea how to maintain their spot in LCK. Like Kongdeo is a big problem for them. MVP, they were in LCK for a long time and fell down. You had ESC, BBQ, whatever you want to call them. They came in, got out. Griffin, I thought that was gonna be like the one. They were gonna be the ones. I thought that like Sandbox or Damwon would have
We're
left before they
to be
did.
the ones when the whole team didn't blow up and
Yeah,
mistreated the.
and then a certain someone insisted that a certain player start over another certain player, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
But
I don't expect this team to do like at the very least as well as they did back when they were back in their CK days, right?
yeah, they're certainly
Well,
not going to be like the Kings of CK. Yeah.
Ahoya, it's just been a disappointment in spring during the LCK. Citrus, I don't even know who the fuck this is.
Citrus, you don't know who Citrus is?
Do you know Slothy? Do you know who Citrus is?
No, I do not.
What? How did Citrus used to be the jungler for Dynamics?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was benched
I
though
don't know.
under Gangnam though, so I don't really blame you for not knowing who he is.
Yeah. Mid.
Mhm.
Let's see.
I think Nahun is gonna really do well in CK. I think that's somebody that's gonna like smurf hard in CK. Is
I
Nahun?
mean, he better
Yeah.
do well on CK because
Yeah,
this is
I
like his
hope.
last chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like
Um.
if he smurfs in CK, I think that's like golden ticket to getting back on an LCK roster or going to LCS. That's like the golden ticket to be like, yeah, I can still play League of Legends. But if he isn't smurfing, that's gonna be a problem for his career, and that's why I agree with you that this is kind of an interesting decision to make for
Yeah.
his career.
I don't know who Wayne is, and I don't know who Yusin is. Is that like Tusin's brother or something? I don't know.
They were
Um.
academy players, and
Yeah.
Griffin's
Yeah.
academy, from what I've been told, wasn't
Trainees.
Okay.
or weren't the best among the trainee rosters. They were
Right.
okay, but they weren't the best.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I like the Griffin. From what I hear, is like their requirements to join,
Mhm.
even to become a trainee for Griffin. I mean, this was a long time ago. I don't know how it is now, but
Yeah.
was to have at least 1,000 LP in solo queue. And actually, Wind, who is on CLG Academy as the bot laner,
Mhm.
he actually tried out for Griffin as well back when the whole team was, wasn't like it was intact, and they had all the golden boys just in that roster. But Griffin, I don't know if they fixed some of the internal like management problems and operational problems that they have right now, because from what I heard back then, they weren't even like feeding the play like the trainees properly, and like it was just pretty bad overall. So Wayne and Yusen,
Yeah.
they might show up, they might not. It's a complete coin flip at this point.
Yeah,
But I think a lot of it has to come down to Nahan. And I think Sword, I don't know why he's not starting just right away.
yeah. He wants
Maybe
to take
because
a.
of his like legal.
I think he
Break.
just wants to
He
take
wants
a
to take a
break.
break.
I think he's just
Okay.
mentally like just mental boom from what's been going on. I would be too. Like, remember everything from being involved in like all the drama, and then your team falls apart, and then you perform poorly, and then you get relegated. I would be in a point where like, you know what? I think I need to take like 4 weeks and just think about, just relax my brain, and I'll be back. So I don't blame him for that. I think when he comes back, he's also going to be another player that's going to smurf hard, hopefully, in CK. Um,
Mhm.
but I do want to move on to the next
Sure.
team, which is another former LCK team, Janair Green Wings.
Yeah.
They pretty much have just kept the same. They've just have kept everything the same. Nothing's changed.
All I'll say about this team is
Or no, they have a new
this will
coach. I
go.
think they have a new coach, so that's something. They
Do
have a
they?
new coach.
Yep.
Who is it?
What's his name?
Sensation.
Sensation.
Oh, Sensation. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know who Sensation is. He used to be fuck. He
Jungler.
used to be he
Yeah,
used to be part of Runaway, like when they
Mhm.
were first formed, and he used to be part of like VSG, I think.
Yep. Yep.
was it VSG? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yes, yes,
think
yeah.
so.
Which I do want to say, if he was part of VSG,
Mhm.
one of my biggest complaints about VSG was the coaching.
Yeah.
So that's not a good sign. If
Mhm.
if that's the case, yeah, because like the biggest thing about VSG, and this is even more important for Jin Air, my biggest problem with VSG was the constant musical chairs that was going on with their starting lineup, and they just kept throwing people in and out of the starting lineup. At first they had like an A team, B team, but then they mix it up, and then they're like subbing in players here and there, and then
Back in
they
LCK, right? Or did they
Yeah.
do that in CK too?
did
In
it in
CK.
CK with VSG,
Oh,
and
okay. Oh, the VSG. Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
biggest complaint I had about Jenner this past split was that they were playing musical chairs with their bot lane. They kept changing the ADCs. And if you take a coach that I had a problem with, that had a problem with playing musical chairs, and you put him into a roster where the solution is to stop playing musical chairs, I don't know how that's gonna work out.
Ah, that's true.
All right. So the chat said.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Never mind.
Yeah. So I also think that we're uh, we're kind of neglecting one of the things that we should be talking about is is that uh I think next season we have this is probably the most experienced roster we're going to have in CK for the last CK right here.
Yeah.
And I think that like this is their one chance to pull together, and I think they actually might do it this time.
Who, Jenner?
Jenner?
I don't believe it.
Yeah, I
Well,
do, man.
we'll talk about that more whenever we
We'll
get
do it
to
later,
the
Mhm.
whenever we get to the predictions, because that's one of the ones I wanted to go over, is that we all pretty much disagree on how Jenner will perform.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah.
of performance, OZ
Mhm.
Gaming, really important that they perform because they're one of the teams that like they really want to make franchising. They've really invested to try to say, hey, we're a
Yeah.
serious esports org. They've invested in other popular Korean esports, PUBG, Overwatch, kart
Mhm.
racing. Is that what that game is called? I don't
Kart
remember.
Rider.
Racer.
Kart
Yeah.
Rider. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
invested in all these other esports that are popular in Korea, and they're like, hey, LCK, we want to be in esports. Please let us in the franchising.
Mhm.
And they picked up what looked like a really good roster,
Mhm.
and it didn't do so well. But they started to, but like the last round robin, they were
Mhm.
like a top five team in my opinion. Whenever they picked up Crown and they actually had Eon putting in effort to try to keep his starting spot against Crown, and it turned. And then they also picked up Juhan and Bluff, and they turned into a
Mhm.
much different looking roster. And they actually were like a top five team, like a top five, top four team towards the end of the year.
Oh yeah, definitely. I also think we didn't get to see enough of Crown towards the end of that right there, as he was still coming back. I think we're going to see more of him this split,
Yeah.
and I personally
I hope
think that
so.
yeah, I think he is going to eventually take the starting role away from Ian, and he will open up, open up their ability to play the game a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think Crown's champion pool is a lot deeper than Ian's, and I think that just allows them to play through other parts of the map, and especially when you have who is probably the best ADC in all of CK right now, Pilot,
Pilot. Yeah.
as right there. You don't need to carry through mid lane anymore, and you can find more creative ways to, supplement him in the bot lane.
I do
So
want to say though, Eon did build Tier of Disrespect in the second round robin, so I did like him more than Crown. But yeah, Crown
yeah,
really just mechanically was very visibly mechanically better than everybody else in CK, and it was like
This,
holy moly.
like this season, like this split will be Crown's redemption arc,
Yeah,
basically.
this is when it starts.
He
This
got
is the
kicked
split.
out of a 10th place NA LCS team,
hmm
and he returned,
hmm
and like the only reason why you get either kicked or you leave the team like mid-season is just because like there are so many different like layers of problems that might exist with the player or with the organization, you know. So I think that it'll be really important for him as a player and his career to come out to be on the starting roster in the first place and to actually perform and impress people. But we'll see. I mean, if your jungler is going to be Broccoli,
hmm
um, that might be a problem. But we don't know who their
Listen,
jungler
I'm a
is.
believer in Juhan. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a believer in Juhan. I'm on the Juhan bandwagon 100%. But on the note of bandwagons that I jump on,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
jumping on the Runaway bandwagon 1,000%. Runaway, oh, I was talking about them earlier. I love it. Runner's a fantastic guy to have in esports. The roster's filled with players that I love watching.
yeah.
You have, like we talked about earlier, you got Tilly in the top lane along. I mean, so Tilly at coaching, Kranji in the top lane along with the gentleman that they picked up. You have Muujin jungle, Edge and Mask in the mid lane. Mask, a former T1 trainee, learned under Faker, so that's something to look forward to.
Mhm.
Five, O Kid at
Oh,
ADC,
kid.
O Kid,
Yeah.
and Pluto at support, and
Mm.
really exciting roster.
Mooj is like he's like the savior when it comes to people like teams
Yeah,
on the verge of relegations.
Yeah.
He's,
like how
I
Kakao helps
Yeah.
teams promote into LCK. Muujin helps teams survive in
yeah.
CK.
The boosting
He's
service.
like Alex Itch when I remember.
Alex
Like
H.
hmm
Jeez.
I think it was Alex Itch from
Yeah.
my memory.
You also have High, another very good booster from in Challenger leagues. high
Oh
boosting
yeah.
Cloud9 twice into LCS.
Oh my lord.
Not
Yeah,
wrong.
that was hilarious. But anyways, like, yeah. Um, what I do want to say is that Runner has very high hopes for Okid,
Mm-hmm.
just because he sees the potential in this kid, right?
Mhm.
And he might be seeing something that we're not seeing, right? Because Okid, like I said before, like I said earlier, Asura Gaming was
Mm.
a joke of an organization, to say the least. But Okid somehow survived through all that, and
Mhm.
Runaway decided to keep him. You know, just continue on his career. So, Mask, yeah, I heard he's a trainee as well,
Mhm.
but again, he was only a trainee, so we don't know how he's gonna do. Now, I am worried about Edge though, because he did get solo killed as a Galio by a D2 Katarina.
What?
Yeah.
Did you
No,
solo
in
kill
the
Edge or something? Is this something you want to? Oh,
no
in
no
the
no
tournament.
in the promotion tournament, he
Yeah.
got solo killed on Galio
Mhm.
by a D2 Katarina.
I
Mhm.
mean, so, it happens, man. Faker got
Yeah.
solo killed by a Gold 2 brand. Okay,
Yeah.
it
What?
happens
No,
sometimes. You don't know
not in a
about that?
professional setting. Not in a professional setting.
Yeah, but it happened. Did it not happen? Did Faker not get called by
It was a one
solo
v
kill?
one, right? From what I remember.
Yeah, the getting killed by the Gold brand. It happened. And that was
Yeah.
Prime Faker too. That wasn't current Faker. That was Prime Faker. It happened.
I mean, you can't compare Edge to Faker though.
Yeah, but
But
I'm just
anyways,
saying,
he has
it happens sometimes, man.
But I guess the point is he was just saying the anecdotal evidence is just kind of a moot point either way.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
yeah,
also a
like
bit biased.
he did get solo killed. He didn't play well in the promo. I guess the tournament to qualify
promotion
qualifier
tournament.
tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah, promotion tournament.
But okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh
I think yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, people like the name Edge is out there,
Mhm.
but I'm not a like. I am worried about the
Yeah.
mid lane. But I hope this guy. I hope Edge proves me wrong
Yeah.
because I want to see everyone do well in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
that's all I got to say about Runaway.
Are you a believer in
Um,
Runaway, Slothy? I know you are. I know you're. I know
oh.
you're a Runaway fan.
Oh yeah, when we were casting Ostro last split, like we would constantly say like there's one player on the roster that stands out more than anyone else,
Hmm.
and it was always Okid. Okid stands out more than anyone else. He was always consistently doing well even when the team was failing. Unfortunately, there League of Legends is no longer the game that it was years ago where you could carry from one position and win in professional leagues. Now with everything being as developed as it is, you need to have at least more ways developed on it. And I think he is a good pickup. You put him on a team that has really experienced coaching and semi-experienced players. I think we see the next one of the next stars of LCK.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah, for sure. I definitely do think he's at that caliber. Somebody that I thought that he was an equal of was Hybrid. Whenever Hybrid was in Chandra's career, I thought he and Hybrid were
Yeah. Yeah.
basically. I thought Hybrid like you had like your average CK ADC here. You had
Mhm.
5 Kid here, and you had like Hybrid here. Hybrid was better, but only by a very small margin. I thought that 5 Kid at one point could have possibly surpassed Hybrid. And Hybrid's now in the LCK getting like 3, 4 pentakills a split and just absolutely smurfing. And when you think about that, and it's like, well, did I overrate 5 Kid, or is
Mhm.
5 Kid actually at that point where it's like
Mhm.
he is being in one good environment away from being one of the best players in Korea?
Mhm.
And I definitely think that Okid. I keep saying 5 Kid. Okid. I definitely think that
Mhm.
Okid's at that point where he's. I think this is going to be the team that's going to hopefully help him thrive and develop as a player, like you said, and hopefully be one of the next stars of LCK.
Yeah.
And
I think Runaway for him right now is a good. It's a pretty good environment. Because I know that Runner and Flowervin treats all their players really well.
well, yeah.
Um, But yeah, we'll see.
Speaking
Can
of stars,
we?
I did want to say a team that has no stars on it is Sotable Gaming. Uh, all of these players you will not recognize, but I will say them anyway. Coach, they have Kage. We know who that is. Coach of Sotable last split and coach of VSC for quite some time. You have Lapis in the top lane. Don't know who's in jungle yet. Gon is the mid laner, just like their roster. Beanie is the ADC. We don't know who that is. And Harp is the support. We don't know who that is. Now, I know who they are because I've done lots of research into the KEG circuit and I watched a lot of them play. And honestly, I wasn't very impressed. And we
Wasn't
didn't.
Lapis and Harp the substitute players last split?
Yeah, all of them were. All four of them were. They were all the subs. And
Oh,
basically,
okay.
what
Yeah.
Sotable did is they just dropped their main roster and they're putting their subs in for their new starting roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
I don't really expect anything out of this team. I think this is just like a hey, let's save some money and get ready for franchising.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I
I don't
mean-
think there's much to be said. Unless you want to say
Yeah.
something, Quest.
I mean, like you said, the roster's just like their mid laner. So let's move on.
Yeah.
I got nothing to say.
What about
Yeah.
you? You got anything to say, Slothy? Anything?
I don't know, man. Like we'll have to see. We'll have to see. We do see surprises from time to time.
Mhm.
Maybe they can make something out of nothing.
Maybe.
But
I do have one word when I think of this roster. I think potential. I think potentially they have young players that got a lot of time to develop. They got to run in houses with a really talented, suitable roster last split. So there's the potential that they could be a good team. That's
To
definitely
be in
there.
ninth place.
I think
Or
there's
to be in
potential.
to be
last
in ninth
place.
place. Yes,
I,
ninth place.
ninth place in an 8-team league quest. Very, very big
Yeah,
brain.
that's exactly. Exactly.
Anyways, moving
Come
on.
on, you're stealing my joke now.
Exactly.
This was
Spirit-
confidential. This was a confidential joke.
and you,
So I'm gonna steal yours. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, go.
but yeah, Spear Gaming.
You probably don't want to steal my jokes, but anyways, yeah, Spear Gaming.
Your homie Zeus is still on their quest. He's in
Yeah.
bot lane still with Jaguar. Hopefully they've built synergy that they lacked. Tank no longer the mid laner for them. Instead they have Chasey. Jungle is unknown since Winter recently did join Genji Academy. Good job. I'm proud of you, Winter. Now you can steal some. Now you can steal some dragons from the Genji main team. Go 1-on-1 with Clid. But anyway, and then in the top lane they have Destroy.
Mhm.
I mean, it's interesting.
I think it's an interesting roster. Yeah.
I think Jaguars not that great, to
Oh,
be honest. I don't know who their mid laner is, to be honest with you.
West, you're killing me,
Chasey?
man. You don't think Jaguar is good? I think Jaguar is really good. What do
I
you
mean,
think, Slothy? You be the mediator here. You be the final decision.
So I think that he has the potential to do good, but he's not good in the sense that we see within other people that we were talking about recently.
Yeah.
We're talking about Okid, we're talking about Pilot. He's not that same kind of talented, that same kind of good. Is he able to stick the plans and do it? Yeah. Is he able to put the team on his back and run and just carry games? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is he's a mediocre bot laner.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You guys are
yeah,
breaking my
guess
heart.
that's one way to do it. But the thing is, like, I think it also comes down to like what are they going to put him on, and how this meta is going to shape up, right? If it does turn into a top-oriented meta, or you're playing with around the jungler top mid lane, then I think they have a really good chance to carry. I think Zeus is a very smart support, and I think that if Zeus is kind of like helping Jaguar with these, I guess like supporter or more supportive bot lane carry or bot lane champions like Ashe or something, if that does make a comeback in this sort of meta, I think then we could see some really good plays out of them. But if it becomes a bot centric meta, I just don't see this roster carrying at all.
Yeah, that's fair. That's pretty fair. Yeah. I don't really have anything else to add. I think you guys pretty much just stole everything I was gonna say. I do think
Also,
you're being.
Zeus
Oh, I
needs
do
to.
want to say something actually. The
Uh-huh.
legendary, the legendary Yasuo player, Chasey. 0
Yeah.
and 2 on Yasuo and CK.
Yeah.
I am excited because I thought that he
Mhm.
had a lot of potential, and that potential didn't show at that moment. But I think he'll have
Mhm.
potential in the summer. I
Also,
think.
Zeus needs to land his fucking hooks.
Oh yeah,
I'm
Zeus
not-
can't. Zeus cannot land a. Listen, if I told Zeus, hey, go out there and land a Nautilus hook and bronze solo queue, and I'll give you $10, he'd like hook the wall and be like, wait, can I try again? But yeah, Zeus needs to land hooks, or just stop playing Nautilus. One of the two. play
Oh man.
play some non-hook supports. Play some set. I think it's a bit of that's the hitbox size you're looking for. But
Mhm.
I do want to talk about, since we've been talking about rosters, I do want to talk about the predictions that we all
Mhm.
made
Yeah.
for the for rosters. Slothy had Breon Blade first, Junior second, Runaway third, Ozzy
You
fourth.
want to pop up the 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 layover?
The what? Oh, the thing I made? Yeah, it's showing on stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Alright,
on
yeah.
right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
He's putting it up
Oh,
there.
there we go.
Yeah,
Oh,
Ozzy fourth, Elementistic fifth, Griffin sixth, Sphere seventh, Soda Bowl
yeah.
eight. I had the same thing for first. We all had the same thing for first and last. Second place, I had
Mhm.
Griffin. Third, OZ. Fourth,
Yeah.
Generic. Fifth, Runaway. Sixth, Element Mystic. Seventh, Spear Gaming. Quest had a really hot take with Spear
Yeah.
Gaming second place.
Yeah.
Griffin third, OZ fourth, Element Mystic fifth, Runaway sixth, Generic seventh, Soda Bowl eighth.
Okay.
Like I said, most agreed upon was Soda Bowl last, Breon Blade first. Least agreed upon was Jin which is all over the place, and Spear Gaming,
Yeah.
which Quest had the hot take there. Let's talk about the Spear Gaming one.
Mhm.
All I'm gonna say, Quest, is you need to throw in some breath mints, because I can still smell Zeus's penis in your mouth from how much you've been sucking his penis.
Oh.
Is that something you really want to say on your podcast that you're recording and
Yeah, you would probably
I'm
edit
just
that
kidding.
one out.
Probably edit that one out, but I can
you
still.
really wanted to get that one out, huh?
I did, because listen,
Yeah. Yeah.
why I do want to know why do you think Spear Gaming will finish second? I think you're a little bit biased, is my point here for
Mhm.
Zeus.
Okay, so let me start with the mindset that I'm coming back here. Okay.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Just based on last split's performance, I think that uh, Beyond Blade, Spear Gaming, um, I don't know too much about OZ Gaming, but up to Element Mystic, okay, they were like on if okay, so if Team Dynamics and Sorabo Gaming last split was like A tier, and so then for me, Beyond Blade, Spear Gaming, and Element Mystic were like a tier below them, but within the same category.
Mhm.
Um, now, the reason why I put Spear Gaming high was just because they still made it to playoffs. They still made it to the very last round. And I think that if they can keep the momentum going, and obviously they would need to improve a lot, they would
Mhm.
need to fix a lot of their mistakes. We would always joke about Zeus not landing hooks or whatever. Yeah, that's one of them.
Mhm.
But I think that this team, depending on how they spent their offseason, has the potential to be in second. And yeah, of course, I want to see my boy Zeus do well, So of course, yeah. So I put Spear Gaming as number two. But again, I do want to emphasize the fact that a lot of these like my predictions for like what the CK standings are going to be are very like
Mhm.
I would say that it's very volatile in a sense where it can just change drastically. Personally, I'm not a big believer on Breon Blade as well, but I know that they do well, and compared to the other rosters, yeah, they, you know, and they're spending a lot of they're investing a lot for this team to be better. And well, I guess they're preparing for franchising, but they're spending a lot for this team to do well. And obviously, they take CK very seriously, even without the promotion tournament.
Mhm.
So Yeah, I put Breon Blade as first. Griffin, the reason why I put them on third is just because, you know, who knows? Like, they still have Neon, and as many people don't like it, they still have Sword. Sword, he's still been to Worlds. Like, it doesn't change. Like, no matter what kind of, how people may view him as a shitty person or he's like washed up or whatever, he
Mhm.
still has all these achievements.
Mhm.
And if you want to compare, you can say the same thing about Crown. Crown's a world champion, for fuck's sakes,
Yeah.
but he got kicked out of CLG, and now he's on OZ Gaming. For some reason he's not the one starting instead of Eon. So you know there are all these players that have the potential to make the team work. I mean, just in CK, anyways. But we'll just have to see. And I think that my list from number 1 to number 5 can go any other way. Okay. Look, I'll even put number 6 in there. Okay, I'll even put Runaway in there too. But this is my initial list right now. I think that Jin Air, despite all the talent that used to be in LCK, they're still not going to do well in CK. And eventually, when the season split ends, um, they'll find their way to either sister teams or whatever. Um, and in the very last place, we have Startable Gaming, and like I said, that roster is just gone. Like their mid laner, so um, yeah, this is my list. Like
Mhm.
this is like that's what my thought process was.
The two main
Coming in.
things that I disagree with you the most on are Jin and Spear Gaming, which I think
Yeah.
Slothy will pretty much disagree with both as well for both of those.
Yeah.
Um, I think that there's absolutely no chance Spear Gaming make it to CK Finals again. I think they're basically just a worse version of what they were in the spring. And
Okay.
with the way that although they did have a nice postseason run,
Yeah.
uh, Breon Blade, you can, Breon Blade just completely fell apart in the semifinals. In the finals, Dynamics just had their way with Spear,
Mhm.
just because they seemed a lot more prepared and Rich was in form, and it
Mhm.
was a bit. It also wasn't a bit fair for Spear because, like I said, ended up being the team that's now in the LCK, so they had to face an
Yeah.
LCK team, and they did take that one game off of them. But what ruins it for me is that one Breon Blade. I don't really take that win entirely seriously just because Breon Blade were playing musical chairs still with their roster. And then
Mhm.
you also look back at how their regular season ended, and it looked really poor. They lost like 6 matches in a row, I think, at one point. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I guess like to go on to these points really right here. Um, the reason why I don't see Spear Gaming succeeding as much is because one, we don't know who their jungler is in this sentence right here, and Winner was a very crucial part to all of the wins that they had throughout the CK spring split. And when you're taking out the key component player and keeping everything else the same, you're basically trying to force someone else into that same role if they want to like have a repeat performance, and that's just not going to happen in any way, shape, or form. Now, on the other hand, on the Jin Air type of side of things, right? You have this really hot and cold player, Umti, right? And I honestly, I think he was given a lot of chances to do it, but if you look at what he was put into, he was always put into bottom tier teams to go and try to succeed. And I think this is the one time he actually has a very large shot to succeed in this league. A lot of the junglers are moving up out of the league into other places. So I think this is again why I put them in second place. I think this is a very crucial role down here in this one because it allows the laners to be able to set up plays and kind of work together as a unit. And this is like the building blocks of just like playing the game at a higher level. So I think having better junglers in this is just going to equal wins. And I think Umti is going to show up this split, and I think that's kind of the story there.
Yeah, and that's a good
You
point.
you
Is
you
that the jungle
Yeah.
pool is really decreased as far as talent goes.
Mhm.
Like Kakal's gone, Winter's gone.
Mm.
You have Kroko regressing, Doyle's gone. So basically, all the competition for
Sure.
Umti has walked out of the door, and like you
Mhm.
said, it should be a good split for him to thrive. But what were you gonna say, Quest?
Mm.
Oh no, I was just looking at the Slothy's list,
Yeah.
and Runaway was pretty high up, so I wanted to.
Oh yeah, just a little bit on that. So I think that I really believe in Okid. I think Okid is going to have a really pop off split. And I think that they are going to eventually start Mask. Maybe they're going to falter early. They're going to start Edge. And as we were saying before, he hasn't showed the best performances. And I think maybe they'll pull him out and they probably will see more consistency with Mask. Now, I'm not sure what they're going to be doing with Last. He was in, I guess, the qualifying tournament and he didn't look so hot. But you have Krongji, and Krongji is one of the stronger top laners we have in CK right now. I the only people I would contest above him potentially
Wait,
would
Kranji?
be
No,
Krongji,
Mujin.
top laner.
We're talking
Oh,
about the
top
top
lane.
laner.
Yeah. I think that. Oh, never mind. There's like two of them I would put above. Two of them specifically,
Okay,
Wiser
that's
and Slugger. I'd put
why
pretty
is there
high
slight?
above.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
Um,
But that just reminds me how bad the top lane pool is because I don't think very highly of Kranji. But I would agree
yeah,
that like only two top laners are better than him, and the rest of them are like they
yeah.
don't have the experience that he does in CK.
And I
Jeez,
mean,
that's kind of sad to think about. Well, you have
and I mean,
sword. No, you do have sword. You have sword.
but the thing is, so unless anything changes, Sword is not coming into the second round robin, and I don't.
No,
And
yeah,
from what I've
he's coming
seen,
back. Yeah. Oh, you said until the second round robin. Yeah.
yeah, he's coming at the end of the second round robin. So imagine this right here. They start Hoya. Hoya hasn't had really good things, and again, this is worst case scenario. They lose every single game. They lose every single series, right?
I don't think it's gonna
How
be
is Sword
that
going to
bad.
come back into that and start to carry that again? Like you only have Nahyun on that roster right there, and Nahyun was looking good, but we also have to keep in mind he did come from EU, the 0-16 Wonder Dogs or Wonder Team OG back in the day. Um, Now, if you're going to take something like that, it is, again, we're looking through a lens of previous League of Legends, and he has grown a lot since that period in time, and he has improved even more so. But has he improved enough to be a team leader and lead this team to victory while Sword is away, while Sword's taking his rest? I don't think so. That's kind of why I put them at the sixth place position. I think they're going to falter a lot early. They'll have a little bit of a comeback right there, but I think a lot of the other teams are going to already have they're already going to have their routine down, and that's pretty much what you need to do to win CK. It's not about being better all the time, it's being consistently better most of the time, right?
Yeah, that's fair-ish. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not fully bought in on the runaway hype train like you are, but
Mhm.
maybe we'll see something out of them. Maybe we won't. But lastly, I did want
Rumor
to.
is spent like
Yeah.
300K or
Yeah,
so, over 300K or
I love
something.
the interview you had with him where his chat teases him and says that he wasted 300K. Pretty
Yeah.
great. But I do want to
Yeah.
talk about some questions that some of my regular viewers had
Mhm.
to wrap up
Mhm.
our time here.
Yeah.
First one is something that I'm sure Quest will find especially close to home. Another one of his BBQ boys, Hyo Kong. A lot of people ask me this all the time, and someone wanted me to answer this here. Is why do we think Hyo Kong isn't on at least the CK team?
Uh, okay, well, he
Can I
did.
just give the brutal answer really quickly?
Sure.
I
Go
don't think
ahead.
he is good enough. I do not think he is good enough to play at a professional level. At last split was a really strong top lane pool, and I don't think that he would have fit in anywhere on any team.
Mm,
Cause last year's top lane pool was really strong.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
considering that Soar was the worst top laner and he was like dominating CK for the past year, to think that
Well,
he was
okay,
the worst
okay.
top laner.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. he was preparing to go to NA.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he was playing he was playing NA solo queue in like 200 ping. He
Mhm.
got to like D1 or something.
Mhm.
That's why he started streaming in English,
Yeah.
and he was making his move to do that. And before that, he got an offer from Afrika as a trainee, but he ultimately declined that just because he knew that as long as fucking what's his face from Afrika, Keen was on the team, he was never gonna get any starting like
Any
any
playing
time on stage.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So he declined that. Hakong, I feel like also the whole thing with Korean teams
Mhm.
is that Hakong, I think he's like 22. Uh,
Mhm.
you just quickly look it up. I can't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's like if
he was born in 1998, right?
Mhm.
He's age 22. For Korean age, he's 23.
Mhm.
And for Korean teams, like for rookies,
Mhm.
that's fucking old.
yeah,
Mhm.
Like that's an
rookies to them
age
is like
where
17, 18.
yeah, they just want young players because
Mhm.
when they find young talents, then they know that where their mindset is that as long as we find some 17-year-old 1500 LP challenger or whatever, our team can nurture him. But if you're
Mhm.
22, you can't really do that because the norm is that players are looking into like veteran status at age 22, 23, and he's like
Yeah.
players in esports, they have a very short career as
Especially
a whole.
Korean
They
ones, because
start
you have
out,
the military service that's right around the corner. It's like if you're
yeah,
just a rookie at 22, you're
Yeah.
missing out on like 4 years
yeah,
that you could have had, and now those four
right,
years are gone. So you only have a very
right,
small window to get to the LCK level.
right.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because like of all those factors that like he failed to go to NA.
Mhm.
He was and I think that he's in contact with some teams. I'm not sure right what's happening right now. We might hear from him soon, we might not, but maybe next year we'll see him on a team when
Maybe.
the whole FA season starts. But okay, so I do want to criticize the fact that
Mhm.
he did, as far as I know, LS was his only contact in terms of finding a team for himself, right? And I personally think that he should have contacted agents too, and he should have marketed himself a little bit better. And there are faults in that aspect as well, but
Yeah.
um, overall, it's just like these series of events just kind of limited him, I guess.
Do you
Um.
have anything you want to add,
W-
Slothy?
I
Wait,
guess like.
before you add anything, I
Yeah.
do want to say
Yeah.
that I don't think he's bad at all.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
he's just
Yeah. Mhm.
like I don't think he's washed up. I think he's
Yeah.
still a very good player
Mhm.
who has the potential to become even better. He's a great understanding of the game because he's been living with LS for over a year and he's been
Mhm.
learning a lot from him.
Mhm.
And yeah, some might say that LS's ways of coaching is bad or whatever, but like,
Mhm.
I personally don't
Regardless, he's
disagree.
still living in a house with LS and he's learning the
Yeah,
information.
like
Yeah.
he sees value in that and, you
Mhm.
know, I
There.
think he's mhm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's intrinsic value of all the knowledge he has, and I think that if we're talking about knowledge, he's probably one of the most knowledgeable players that we see that is on this market right now. One of the big things, I kind of want to make like a little small counterpoint. Like, yes, the age thing is a very big thing, but right now all the teams, he wouldn't even be the oldest top laner on the CK teams right now. So I think that if he, like you said, would have marketed himself and he would have um, been able to find a team in Korea back onto CK rather than trying to go pro right away. I think this would have also helped them in this regard too. He would have had I guess like he had the experience of living with Ellis and all that knowledge gained passively. But from times I watch his stream and I see everything that we got right there, I think that that he needs to, I guess, he needs to stop analyzing and just play more. Like, stop analyzing all the time and play more. I think that right
I
now,
mean, he plays a fuck ton of solo queue. I don't.
yeah, he does. He does. But the thing is, he's not playing in a very conducive environment that's going to, I guess, promote the skills he would need to be on a team again. I think being on a team is a very important thing. Being able to receive and handle criticism is a very important thing of working on a team, as well as being able to express um, yourself very well to the other person. And albeit we're dealing with solo queue, we're dealing with people that don't know the game very well, but from the instances you see on stream and all these things, and like just like his attitude while streaming the game right there, I don't see that kind of like receptive attitude for criticism in the games, or like what is needed to be a conductive team player. And I think that's one thing that that a lot of us kind of overlook when we're looking at a lot of these successful players. It's not that they're just very good. They're very good, and they know how to not take it personally when they're told, "Hey, you made a mistake. Hey, you did this poorly. What can we do to get you to that next level?" And I think that's the mindset of a champion. That's the mindset of someone that's going to go to the next level and start playing into the higher leagues. So,
I
Okay.
think we're overthinking it, and I just think he's not
yeah,
very good.
yeah.
My biggest thing is like if you look, and this is still the case for this year for this split too.
Mhm,
My biggest thing why
mhm,
I think CK teams aren't wanting to sign him is that he's not an upgrade to any roster. Last split
mhm.
for sure is the case. Not an upgrade to anybody.
Yeah,
He would
yeah.
make the only top laner he could realistically replace is Hinu, and even then, you're not doing anything for that roster. They're not all of a sudden not going to be eighth place. They're still an eighth place team even with Hyokong
Mhm,
instead of Hinu.
yeah.
And this
Mhm.
split, it's also the case, except for with teams that aren't interested in upgrading their roster, like Sotable. They're just
Sortable.
wanting to save money. They don't want to bring on anybody new. They just want to keep things how they are. They're not looking to upgrade their top lane position, which Hyokong would be a big upgrade there. Might even help them a little bit more, but again, they're still an eighth place team even with Hyokong. I just don't think he fits anywhere in any roster. But I didn't want to spend too much time
Yeah,
on this question, but I did want to give Quest an opportunity. He was about to bring up a counterpoint.
yeah.
Um, one thing that does get me is,
Mhm,
like you mentioned, the way he, like how receptive he is.
yeah.
I think that if a player isn't willing
Mhm,
to um to give his points, right, to present his points,
mhm,
like in game, like his in game points, why he thinks this is wrong and why he thinks
mhm,
it's right or whatever, and if a player is willing to do that,
mhm.
then there's so much value as in a player.
I
But if
think
the coaching staff
Yeah.
can't understand where he's coming from,
Yeah.
then that's a big problem in the coaching staff, I feel.
Mm. Um.
Because, well, anyways, that's just my take on it. And
Yeah.
I think that, sure, I mean, people can have better ways to receive criticism and whatnot. Now, for Hakong, he has a very bright personality, right?
oh yeah,
And it's, I don't,
Definitely. Definitely.
I think his personality is like his biggest trait, and that's why Frosty brought it up in chat a second ago, which I definitely agree with. I think his future is in streaming and showing off his amazing personality in a way that best fits him. I think his future is in that and not in playing professionally.
I mean, that has so much value in a team setting as well.
It can, but you gotta be
No,
on
it's.
the
I
right
mean,
team for it.
it's a group. That's also true.
Mhm,
But if you think about it this way, where it's just a
mhm,
bunch of fucking kids, you know,
mhm.
they're
Yeah,
like
at the end of
17,
the day, yeah,
18,
they're all just a bunch of
up to
kids. Yeah.
yeah, they're just kids. They
Yeah.
don't know how to solve problems. That's up to the coaching staff, you know,
Yeah.
Mhm,
to say who's right or wrong.
mhm,
These kids don't really know anything in
mhm,
terms of how to be rightfully social. That's the
mhm,
way I'll put it, you know.
mhm,
Yeah.
And how come, like, with someone like Sungju or
Mhm.
Hokong
Mhm.
with personality as bright as him,
Mhm.
it's gonna provide so much value to the team. Like as just in terms
Mhm.
of like setting the mood or whatever, like whatever you
Mhm.
want to call it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't
But
want
I
to.
think
I didn't want to move on though
Mhm.
because we are on this
Sure,
question
sure,
for a
yeah,
long time. Another question was what we thought about Griffin, but we went in depth on them already, so I don't really think we need to go more in depth on them.
Mhm.
Here's one that is another one that's going to be close to home for you
Mhm.
because it's similar to something that BBQ did while you were on their team, was importing both Malice and Deus, which had never been done before by a Korean team, LCK or otherwise. No,
Mhm.
no one's ever brought in a non-Korean to the Korean team.
hmm
BBQ did it, and they not only brought in a Western coach, but they brought in Western players. And recently, Sandbox did the same. They brought in Yamada Cannon as their new head coach.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's a head coach or the coach. I think he's the head coach, right? Let me see the strategic coach.
I
head
believe.
coach.
Head coach, yeah, that's what I thought. And now the question is, now that we've taken that step and we've imported the coach, do you think importing players will follow in the LCK?
No,
No?
not until franchising happens,
No.
and yeah, at least not until franchising happens. Maybe what'll happen after, maybe, but
I think maybe Chinese players start coming to Korea. I think maybe that becomes a thing.
I
Like,
really don't see any foreign players
really?
joining LCK. I really don't think so,
I
to be
think there are
honest with you.
some Chinese players that would be upgrades to a lot of rosters in the LCK.
Um, sure, but
Yeah.
it all comes down to money.
I was
Yeah.
about to say Uzi, and then I forgot he retired.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah,
me sad. But like, still,
look, like
there are a good amount of Chinese players that I think.
even with franchising happening in the LCK, there's so
Mhm.
much more money in China.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's always gonna be more money in China,
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
they have a really strong
and
economy.
like, look, LCK's like salaries. The top players, they aren't that behind from like your counterparts to your NALCS or EU, like LEC or whatever.
Mhm.
Like the amount of money that these people, like these players, are getting, like BDD, from what I understand, he's getting paid close to $1 million per year, or not per year, but per contract, right?
Yeah.
And I think Hood's about the same as well. Um, but that only applies to like top players.
Yeah.
Um, if like whenever franchising happens, right? Um, Even so, the league is Korean,
Mhm.
and as long as there are Korean coaches or Korean like management in these teams, it's not gonna like I don't think it's gonna happen because from their perspective, they still think LCS and LEC is it doesn't have a lot of value. They still think, you
Mhm.
know, they still think LCK is a top like is a region that can rightfully contest for like at Worlds, right? Despite being crushed by the LPL 2 years in a row. And there's a word I'm looking for. But anyways, yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen unless um, some like I still don't understand Sandbox's decision to bring in Yamato Cannon. I really don't, because why
It was
not
an
bring in?
interesting one. Yeah.
Um.
It's so out
Slothy,
of the blue too.
Slothy,
Um.
what do you think about what do you think about the
So.
possibility of imports?
So I I don't think I like it would take a very specific set of circumstances to have LCK import people over. The one point I want to bring up is the thing about EU not being useful. Um, yeah, the majority of EU is not as good. But the thing is, the past few years at Worlds, what are the teams that that I guess kind of killed the hopes of people in Korea? It was EU.
Yeah, EU
EU
and China.
killed were the Korean killers. Yeah,
Well, okay,
China did kill two of them right there, but G2 3-1 to SKT semifinals. The year
Yeah,
before that, Cloud9 took away the
Africa.
Africa from from playoffs.
I mean,
Or-
okay, so LEC, I don't think it's a weak region at all.
yeah,
But
no,
Yeah.
not at
No,
all.
it's
does it
just
change the
Korean
fact that they're
Korean teams seem to think that.
That yeah, the Korean teams.
I mean,
Yeah,
to be
I just think
fair, in my
I
opinion, like outside of the
yeah,
top 2 or maybe 3 EU teams, the region isn't very good.
yeah,
I
and
yeah,
think
it's
the
a
like
two-team
the
region.
yeah,
It's Fnatic G2.
yeah,
yeah, it's a
yeah.
2 sometimes a 3-team region, to
Hmm.
where
Yep.
and it's like to where like Korea has always
Mhm.
been really like the first team is only barely better than the second team, and the second team is only barely better than the third team, and the third team is only barely, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
It's a very contested region to where in EU you have all the best players on 2 teams, and in NA you have all the best players on 1 team, and even they aren't very good. So I get like the concept that Korea is better than, and like China is kind of
Yeah.
also the case, but that's
Um,
changing now. Now they're a really contested region.
No, that it. Yeah,
There's 16 teams in it.
Yeah,
yeah.
in the past it's
naturally gonna be
been in the past
Yeah.
it's been like a 1
No.
team, 2 team region.
There's actually 17 teams now.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Fuck.
There's more teams.
So yeah. So I guess talking about China, I guess, but like before I came to Korea, like I kind of was a huge. I still am a huge LPL fan, and I think like we've just seen it consistently over the past couple of years. Like, um, actually, I wrote my dissertation on this. This was my dissertation on how China is going to overtake these leagues in esports based on their economic situation and that. So yeah, that yeah. Um, we're starting to see it in action. We're starting to see these things take place before our very eyes, but people always like to deny it. People want to deny that, hey, China is becoming a region that is, I guess, worth noting. And people have been writing off, be like, hey, who are the top teams? And again, yeah, they do have Korean players on the team, albeit there's that. I think Korea is the best place to get pool from, but are they still the best region? I don't think so.
What, Korea?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I don't think they're the best region at all. It doesn't change
Yeah.
the fact that
Yeah.
it's the most competitive region, I feel.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
but
because
the
the teams are-
point
again,
though of all this is that like Korea's not the best region, but they're not going to import anybody because I guess they don't see it that way. They don't think that they're not the
It's
best
like
region.
the thing with Japan and like how they treat foreigners. They're
Yeah.
very
That too, yeah.
fuck, what's that word I'm looking for, man?
Xenophobic.
Yeah, they're very xenophobic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Also, like,
xenophobia and arrogance is what's going to prevent imports, I guess. But I did want to. Oh, say no. Go ahead, Slothy.
It would take, like I said, it would take a very specific set of circumstances for it to ever happen. But here's the thing: if they do import a Korean player, not a Korean player, a foreign player, and put them in the league, that's going to hurt their branding. And with franchise coming up, branding is going to be really, really important in the next, I guess, in the upcoming months, and then even in the future after that. It's going to be all on the branding to generate the revenue rather than the teams itself.
You
So
think that I think that if there were a specific setting to where a team would import, I think it would be if Sandbox is accepted to franchising and Yamada Cannon is still the coach. I think then maybe that would bring I think that would maybe bring him to the conclusion that hey, maybe I should import somebody since because like let's say you imported like I'm trying to think of some people that would realistically import that would be good. Because like obviously I could take the easy way out and be like, oh, what if you imported Caps into Korea? I would, but like he wouldn't do that realistically. Like, are you guys familiar with Shadow? I think is his name, the jungler for Mad Lions.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, really talented player, really young. Let's say he continues to improve to the point where this is all theoretical. I don't think it'll happen, but this is theoretical. Let's say Shadow gets to the point at the end of the year where he's considered the best jungler in Europe. And he's on a team like Mad Lions that financially don't have a very secure hold onto him. And a team like Sandbox could potentially be like, hey, smell this money? Yeah, come over here, come play in the LCK. It's a lot more prestigious than the LEC. Let's say they imported Shadow. I think that could potentially be interesting. I think that could be interesting.
and
And
The
I also think it's
language barrier
possible.
is huge.
I mean,
feel.
Malice had a language barrier and was still, in my opinion, the best jungler in
Yeah,
CK.
but he also had me, and he also had LS,
But you
who's
would have people like
constantly.
that, no? You would put people like that. You would put translators.
You would have people that could do
Well,
it
you know
if you are going to prepare this sort of thing. Like you would have people in these positions to do this sort of thing. Um, I guess the bigger thing is for the circumstance to even be like considered a possibility. Sandbox really need to show up the split.
Oh yeah.
And by that I mean they need to not be a middle of the pack team. They need to be in the top 3 teams.
Are we talking about like for chances of franchising?
No, not chances of franchising. For chances for like the chances that. So let's say that they do get
Well,
accepted to
let's. My thing
franchising and
is,
they
if they're
are
a
a
good,
mid team. Yeah,
if they're a good team, why would they consider importing? I think it would be a more
yeah.
fitting situation if they were like upper middle of the pack and they're like, we're like one key player away from being really good. And then Yamada Cannon thinks like, hey, I know this one key player. He's a European. Why don't we
But
bring him in?
on the flip side, let's say that you take Sandbox this split, right? You take Sandbox comparing it to last split. I'm just gonna do a quick search. I forgot where they placed last split. They
Last
placed 9th, right? Yeah,
ninth.
they placed 9th, right? So let's just say they do only slightly better this split with Yamato Cannon. Are they going to attribute that to Yamato Cannon himself? Probably not. But if Yamato Cannon comes here and takes this team and brings it to a super high level, and then they said, we're still lacking that one piece, that's when I see that circumstance. That's
That's
kind of
fair.
like
Yeah.
my point behind that.
Okay. Do you see that possibly happening if that scenario happens, Quest? Do you think Yamada Cannon would be able to pull the trigger on importing somebody?
Uh, to be honest, I don't know what Sandbox is thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'm not discrediting
Mhm.
Yamato Cannon here.
Yeah.
It just seems very random.
It is very random. It is very, very
Like
random.
I guess they
It,
just decided to try something new and decided to bring him in.
I think it's a.
But again, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's an attempt to secure franchising. It's like, hey, look at us, we're diverse.
Mm. We're trying to be international here. That's what.
Yeah, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, exactly. But okay, so the player mentality in EU, NA, and KR, Korea, even China, they're all different.
Mm-hmm.
NA players, you hear the horror stories about how NA players
You like Fortnite.
like coaches, yeah, like coaches beg them to play at least 3, 4 solo queue games before going to bed or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
EU, I'm not too sure what's going on there. But I feel like the Western mindset is like, okay, I need to rest. I need my my private time and from from here to here, right? And but like Korean players, all the pro players, all you see them doing is playing solo queue after scrims until like 3, 4 a.m. until the night.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure like that's the case for some of the players,
Yeah.
but it feels like if there's like restrictions, I
Mhm.
feel like imports aren't going to do too well.
Mhm.
There's gonna be some conflict. There's gonna be some trouble,
So
like
you think
when that happens.
the culture difference will cause problems, basically?
Yeah, I mean, Korean players and when like okay, so Mickey, right?
Mhm.
You know the whole famous story about Mickey leaving scrims and he just
Yeah.
screamed out whatever. I'm pretty sure player culture had a big part in why he did that too.
Yeah, that's
But
a whole nother conversation though. Is the Mickey
yeah,
thing?
yeah. So
But yeah, I get your
again, my
point. Is
point
that
is, yeah, player culture can really affect.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. And last question that I wanted to bring up, which I talked
Yeah.
about beforehand, which is does CK matter? Why or why not? And I think I speak for the room when
Yeah.
on the point that CK doesn't matter for the teams because it's not going to affect their chances of franchising, but it does matter for the players because if you're a player and you're on a team that's going to get disbanded, League of Legends wise, because franchising is going to happen and Challengers Korea isn't going to be a thing, you are going to be a free agent and you want to have a resume. And doing well in CK will be something to add onto that resume. If you're in CK and you're playing poorly,
Mhm.
uh, your career is not in a good spot.
So, okay, so one thing that I do want to kind of discuss in this matter is a lot of LCK teams already have academy teams, already have, or sister teams, if you want to call it, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then CK just ends,
Mhm.
and then suddenly there's like 100 FA free agents
Yeah.
on the market from CK. So, like, yeah, it matters a fuck ton for the players
Mhm.
because if you don't do well, then you're going to be out of a job unless your team somehow makes franchising and you somehow manage to keep the spot on the team, you know? I mean, I guess the same can apply for like LCK teams as well. So we'll see how like it all like mixes up, but for the players, this is like your last ticket on whether or not you're going to continue as pro in League of Legends or, you know, who knows what'll happen, man.
If
Um,
yes, yes, something you want to say, Sloth?
Yeah. So I guess like if we look at this not as the exact same lens, but as a parallel lens to the situation in NA, you do end up with all these players without homes. And you do end up with that sort of thing right here. And albeit NA is different because they are importing players, but the thing is, you're in Korea, you're in a league, you have all these players already set in stone on your teams that are being brought into the next level, and you do have your trainee teams. You do have the people that are playing in this right here. I think a lot of it will have to do with like what are going to be the rules around the academy leagues. And if there is that age limit, then we could see the separation into three teams the same way that 100 Thieves is going about it back in NA, where they have the academy team and then they have the I guess the
Like that
third
young
party,
team, yeah.
like the young team, where they're kind of like trainees and they're playing in like other amateur tournaments in the area. Um, and I guess we'll have to see how this affects the amateur circuit over here in Korea, because I know there's still a pretty large amateur circuit outside of academy going on in NA right now, and some of these players do get pulled from there into academy into these LCS teams, but this is like few and far between. So you're just creating a bigger gap between amateur and pro when you're creating these franchising right here, and that's just going to separate the people out that are on that border. That are
Right.
on the border, be like, you're barely making an amateur. You are going to be completely amateur now. You're done. You're not going to go pro. And again, as Quest was saying, like this is a lot of people's last chance in this regard. So does it matter? Yes, a lot for the players. Doesn't matter for the orgs. Um, for some of them, I could see it mattering for someone like Runway, right? If Runway has a big fan base as is, if they succeed in here, that could be also a good driving point besides getting sponsors and getting, I guess, things ready for franchising. What a better way to gain more fans is to succeed in CK. To succeed and just like I guess pushing your brand forward. If you have a really hype split, if Runaway just come into this split and just go crazy and just blow everyone's expectations out of the water, they're going to be not just generating hype here, they could be generating hype on a smaller scale globally. And if that's the case, that's what we're looking for, that's what people are looking for franchising. I mean, why else are you pulling Yamato Cannon over to Sandbox? As we were saying, is it to make it more international? Is it to give them that brand to pull in more fans? Say, hey, people overseas watching LCK, they really like this brand. They like our stuff. We should deserve to be in franchising. So yeah,
That's
I mean,
that's
there's still so many details that haven't been released by Riot in
yeah,
terms of how franchising is going to work and how the
yeah.
secondary league they're going to handle secondary league and whatnot. So, I mean, only time will tell, but definitely when it comes to players, it matters a fuck ton for them. For the organization too, I think
Mm-hmm.
how well they do
Mm-hmm.
on in the standings will definitely show that these guys have or some of the teams that do well in the standings, like they can be potentially contest with the other LCK teams. So I think as an organization, I think being high on the standings is something that matters for them a lot too. Because
Mhm.
yeah, that's all I gotta say about that one.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, by the way?
Yeah,
Takeoff.
I pretty much what I said earlier is that I mean I could see the point where like for a runaway, for them
Mhm.
Yeah.
performance is really important because like Slothy said,
Mhm.
if they don't perform well here, people are gonna look at that and be like, well, if they can't manage a team in CK, how could they manage a team in LCK? But if they, in the scenario that Slothy said, just
Mhm.
wreck house and like become the next CK super team, people are gonna look at them and be like, well, if they can do that there, imagine what they can do in the LCK.
I mean, so basically, it matters the most for the players. I don't know
Yeah,
how. To
that's
be
what I
honest,
was
Yeah.
gonna say though. Is
yeah.
that
Yeah.
for besides Runaway, I don't think any other team cares how they do. You can. It's very evident in
Pretty sure
Sotavol.
they care.
Well,
Well, Sarabo doesn't care.
Yeah.
Sotavol doesn't
Yeah,
care.
you're right. You're right.
Spear Gaming hardly made any changes. I don't
Mhm.
think they care. Uh, I don't think I think despite changes Element Mystic made, I don't think they care. I think this is just try to look good if you can, but let's save money kind of thing from CK teams. I don't think performance is if they perform poorly, I don't think it's the end of the world for them. And if they perform well, I don't think that's going to be like a thing for them to celebrate about.
Yeah.
But it very much so is that for the players, like you said, and like everybody's been saying. This is absolutely the last chance that they get to show themselves in this scene. There's not going to be
Yeah.
CK next split. There's not going to be a spot for them because all these academy teams, you have some players that aren't going to be eligible for LCK next split, so are still going to be on
Yeah.
these academy teams and are
Yeah.
insane players. And the thing about that is there's going to be limited spots available in these academy teams and only a certain amount of people to fill them, and all the people. And it's not just going to be the people in CK. There's going to be solo queue players trying to get those spots as well. So this is like a must perform well for a lot of these players. And if
Yeah.
they are too old to be on the academy rosters, what about going to Turkey? What about going to Latin America? What about going to NA or somewhere else? So it's very important for them.
Mhm.
I think players like Crown and who's the other one?
Pilot, I think, is another one
Pilot
that
probably.
Yeah,
wants to try to
Pilot.
prove.
Yeah, like
Wiser
Pilot.
probably wants to show that he's ready to play in
Mugen too.
LCK. Mugen, yeah.
Yeah.
What about
So
Umti?
Umti too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Umti
UMT, I
Yaharo.
guess.
How wrong? Yeah, like the Janair boys. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Jin I think of all the rosters has the most to prove as far as players go. Them
Hmm.
and OZ are like, they really need to play well this split. Like if I'm on either of those teams, I'm playing out of my mind. Like
I
I'm
mean,
going all in.
I really want to see Jenner do well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I
like
really do, because they've
Tana
been
and Yaharong are both like insane players. They shouldn't be in the position that they are.
in the shitter for so long that
Yeah.
I really want to see them do well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Grace has been getting like the shit out of the stick for a long time. I really want to see him do well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
anyways, yeah,
that's
that's
about it. That's about all she
yeah.
wrote. Quest, thanks so much for joining
Yeah,
Of
man.
us.
course, I would like to do many of these with you, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
Um,
Come back every week. Come back. Keep going. Stay on the
I
cast.
want. Oh yeah, you need to come cast. But I want to get unknown. I know he wanted to be on an episode. I'm gonna see if
Yeah.
I can reach out to some other people and see if I can get them on. But yeah, thanks
Yeah.
yeah,
everybody to
dude.
watching. Drink Hot Six, watch Challengers Korea, follow all of us on Twitter,
Yeah.
especially Quest. He has a lot of really good articles that come out with a bunch of different LCK players and some other people in the Korean gaming scene in general that might or might not be involved in esports. Had an interview with a cosplay person, had an interview with Runner, has interviews with the Dynamic owner, has a lot of really interesting interviews. And if you watch CK, a lot of stuff that a good amount, not a lot, a good chunk, some of the stuff that he writes is about CK, and it's good to read about because it's kind of like behind the scenes stuff. But anyway, thanks for joining us, Quest.
Of course, man.
Slothy,
It's
It's a
you'll always
pleasure.
be here, but thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no. Again, I appreciate having the platform, and like I said, Dan, come back anytime, please.
Dan the man.
Dan the man.
I mean, whenever I'm not on LCK duty,
Yeah.
I'll make sure to come back and.
Are they gonna open Lowell Park again? Like, are they gonna have
They're
players
gonna-
playing there?
Yeah,
Are they
they
gonna?
had players playing in the MSC
hmm
at Low Park. They're gonna have no spectators though, still, just because COVID is still a thing in Korea. See,
Yeah.
in USA, you might have not riots, protests about,
Mhm.
about Black Lives Matter, but and like while that's the thing in the US, we're still dealing with COVID, and I'm pretty sure.
Well, we're still dealing with COVID. Yeah, we had a massive spike in cases. Like like in Austin, we're going back to level 4, which is like absolute lockdown. You're not allowed to leave the house unless it's an absolute emergency. Cause
Really, not even for like, let's say, a cigarette or something.
huh?
You can be in your property, right?
Yeah, no, you can't leave. Like, the only reason you should leave your house is if you're going to get food or if you're going to get emergency services.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, that's it.
cool.
Like, you can't leave your house for any other reason, or if you're going to work, obviously. Like, just essential travel only. They're not letting people go out just like whenever they want now. We've lost that privilege. But anyway, on that note, everybody wash your hands, practice social distancing, and practice
Yeah,
watching
and drink
Challengers
water,
Korea,
bitch.
and drink water. Drink water and drink hot sticks. We'll see you all later. Bye bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye-bye.